Hi there, Fred Barrett here with DocuSign's Global Partner Solutions team. Today I'd like to introduce you to DocuSign partner Workday. Workday is one of the leading HR or human capital management cloud platforms on the market, and they have built an integration with DocuSign I'd like to introduce you to as part of this video. I'm going to take a look at a business process called title change. The DocuSign integration was written by the developers at Workday, and the integration is deep within the product's business process framework. Workday's business process framework, or their BP engine, supports over 400 use cases that can cause documents to be sent to DocuSign's system of agreement platform for execution. Let's take a look at a very simple business process we have in our Workday demo system called title change for our sample company, Global Modern Services. I'm going to look at this as a diagram, and as you can see, Workday has a nice graphical display that shows what the workflow steps in this business process are for a person to change their own business title. Now, this is probably not a workflow you'd see in real life, but for our demonstration purposes, it should suit us fine. As with all processes, they need to start somewhere, and from this diagram, you see that the business process gets initiated by some event that occurs within Workday. I'll show you that initiating event in a moment. For now, we agree that something will start this workflow happening. From there, as in most workflows, there are branches that can occur if some conditions are met, and others that might occur if they're not met. Notice that this diagram has a box marked Review Documents, and that is where DocuSign lives within Workday. A review document workflow step is the container for a DocuSign signing ceremony within Workday. So let's take a look inside and I'll show you what we mean. One thing to notice is that Workday is considered a system of record and has some functions that span into system of engagement. You'll see screens like this throughout the Workday application as it captures the audit trail of things I'm doing, and it also provides me the ability to say when the changes I make are supposed to go into effect. I could select something down the road and make the edits today and have it go into impact later on. But for now, for the purposes of this video, you can ignore it when you see this particular screen. All right, so here we have the configuration screen used to set up our review document workflow step. Once a DocuSign account has been connected to a Workday tenant or instance, whichever word you'd like to use, this drop-down appears, and as you can see, we can choose to send this review step to DocuSign to process. The next item on the screen tells Workday who the participants will be in this review workflow step. In DocuSign, this translates to the recipients who will receive the envelope to act on as part of the agreement process. For example, I can select over here the employee who is participating in this workflow step. Never know when the workflow step is going to be set off, but whoever that party is in the role of employee, for example, this workflow step would happen to them. One thing to keep in mind, Workday wrote the DocuSign integration only to use embedded signing. That means no emails will be sent via DocuSign to the recipients. Recipients in the default configuration must be logged into Workday in order to sign their documents, and Workday's inbox system is how the parties will receive notification when it's their time to sign. Workday also manages the signing groups. For example, if I added here perhaps all HR managers, Workday manages that group within the Workday platform, not within DocuSign's signing group system. When the first person in that Workday signing group picks up the action on the DocuSign envelope, Workday will take care of removing the other members of the group to prevent duplicate actions. Another thing to note is that the order of entry on this table determines what the routing order is of the recipients. Okay, now that we've got our recipients, let's take a look at the document we're going to send as part of this workflow step. Let's see, I want to draw your attention. Let me get in here. I want to draw your attention to the sign here one anchor string that you see very faintly here displayed on the page. An anchor string is one of the ways to tell DocuSign where to place the fields that a recipient will interact with during their signing ceremony. I'll show you in a little bit how to tell Workday which anchor strings to use in order to cause different DocuSign fields to get placed. But for now, our sample document has a single sign here field that needs to be placed for our workflow step to succeed, and it goes right here on the form. Finally, we have the message here that we want to display to the recipient, very much like an email subject, email body in a normal DocuSign envelope, indicating to the recipient what they're about to sign as part of the workflow step, any instructions that's supposed to happen there. That's it. Our workflow step is configured. So now let's go run this workflow step to see what that will look like. Okay, so I've joined the screen called Change Title. And here is the workflow step I can perform, change my business title. We're going to select that. And you'll see that I'm logged in here as Joy Banks. Our user Joy Banks has gotten tired of her Chief HR Revenue Officer, Chief HR Rep Officer at Global Modern Services, and she wants to change her title. Perhaps it's a downgrade. She's tired of all the late nights and weekends. We're going to make her a VP of Human Resources. And so the event or the workflow that we're going to request is the workflow to change our business title. And the triggering, initiating moment of that is me hitting this submit button here. So she's chosen the title she's decided on. She clicks submit, and she finishes off her request by clicking the done. By doing that, Joy has started the background business process engine in motion. Workday is going to send her a review document workflow step to complete. And remember that I said Workday does not send emails, right? The notice is going to be sent to Joy's Workday inbox, not, for example, to her Gmail account. If I come up here to her inbox and click that, what we'll notice 30 seconds ago is the review document, the review document workflow step that we designed earlier is now here in front of her to begin execution. All right. Here's the e-sign by DocuSign button. Let's go ahead and do this. This part of the demo should be very familiar to you. We enter the signing ceremony, adopt our signature if it's the first time we've done this, and then we sign the document. When finished, we hit the finish button and we're back into Workday. Voila, right? And our title will have been changed. The saved document, and I'll make a comment if I want, I hit submit and done. The saved document is stored in Joy's profile, and you'll see it's under the personal documents folder. And while Joy has done many of these demos on our behalf, you can certainly see there's a few of those in there. By clicking on one of these, you'll see an example of the signed document that was completed and stored now back in the Workday system of record. So that is the workflow. And now let's go take a look at what it took to set that up. Remember back at the beginning that I mentioned the DocuSign integration is built into Workday. And let's look at how we connect that application, the Workday application, to our very own DocuSign account. All the administrative setup for our Workday tenant in terms of connecting to DocuSign lives in the Edit Tenant Setup Business Process Administrative screen. I'm going to click that, and if you scroll to the bottom, you can see these bright yellow buttons, bright yellow-orange buttons, Authenticate with DocuSign, and Configure DocuSign Anchor Text. I should also point out that our competitor, Adobe Sign, is also listed on this screen. You can see why I scroll quickly to the bottom and draw focus to the bright yellow object at the bottom of it so that people can simply ignore all of this stuff up here, which won't matter to them anyway. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to authenticate with DocuSign. simply going to show you this screen because this is a live production or our live demo tenant. So I don't want to go through a process that might cause one of our solutions engineers to see a broken screen as I go through this presentation. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. I simply choose between whether I want to connect to a DocuSign production account or a DocuSign sandbox account. I would click the Authenticate with DocuSign button, log into the DocuSign account that I have chosen, and as simple as that, the connection has been made between Workday and DocuSign. The integration itself will go ahead and do any configuration steps inside the DocuSign account that it needs in order to be effective. Pretty easy to get connected. All right. Let's go back and do the next thing in our setup step, which is to configure our anchor strings. And the reason this capability was built into the Workday integration is that a significant number of companies using Workday were already DocuSign customers. So they already had a large library of documents that had been tagged with anchor strings in their inventory, and by giving them the ability to edit what Workday saw as the anchor strings, they could now use that library that they'd had before within the Workday application. So by editing these values inside Workday, Workday now will use these as anchor strings, and we don't have to change any of the documents we might have already in our template structures. For a very specific set of reasons outside of the scope of this video, Workday only supports a select few DocuSign field types. These are, as you can see, the sign here field, the initial here field, date signed, signer full name, and title, everything that you would normally see in a standard signature block. On this screen, you would say, select, for example, the sign here block, and you would tell Workday what your anchor string is for that field type. For example, maybe if I had a field, an anchor string of signature 1 or signature colon, that would be the base anchor string that Workday would send for a document that wanted to have a signature on it. It's important to note that this is the base anchor string. Workday will take this string that's entered here, and before passing it to DocuSign, it will append the recipient number to the end of it, indicating which recipient it belongs to. So if my anchor string is signature, then the first recipient would see a signature 1 in the actual document itself. The second recipient we'd want to have the marker signature colon 2 in the Word document or the PDF document or wherever, where the second recipient was to sign. This is really, as you can see, a point of confusion for customers when getting set up with their document templates. So do keep this in mind. Again, this is just the base anchor string, and then the document itself would want to reflect whatever the base string is plus the recipient number in order to get that anchor string accurately placed. So there you have it. That's all it takes to set up Workday's integration and connect it to DocuSign. From here, the customer goes and creates their own business workflow steps, and they add the review document workflow step to that, and DocuSign's automatically there.